Team, what is up? Welcome back to TCL Podcast. Kicking off 2020. Wow, what a good start to the year we've had so far. I don't know if you have seen it yet. If you have not, we actually launched on New Year's Day. I literally woke up on New Year's Day and I was like, you know what? I really want to make an impact this year. Like, I really want to change and deliver some good content and make a shift in someone's life. And something that we do day in, day out, me and Stace, is our gratitude practice. And I was like, why the heck not start a gratitude practice, like a gratitude challenge? Typically, it takes 21 to 30 days to see a good change in someone. So I was like, heck, let's create a 30-day gratitude challenge. So literally on New Year's Eve, I woke up and Stace was with Maz just hanging out for like an hour. And I put this course together. And I was like, wow, this is really like it's really cool just to kind of be able to deliver that. And I showed it to Stace, and then I was like, hey Stace, what do you think about this? And I got her input, and we kind of changed a few things around. And I literally set it all up on the email sequence, so you guys get an email every day. But why I'm so excited by it is because it's completely free to you guys, and realistically, we've got a Facebook group that's going with it where people are posting what they're grateful for every single day, and it's absolutely incredible. It actually brings a smile to my face every day, just seeing that other people are stopping and being appreciative of things in their life. And obviously here in Australia, we've got some pretty crazy shit going on right now with all the fires and everything. And we've got people who have been affected by the fires or whose family have been affected by the fires who are now looking into their, they're now doing this gratitude practice every single day, and they're still finding things every single day that they are thankful for, that they are grateful for. And that to me is really awesome because it's essentially changing their mindset around and maybe changing their environment around, because in that situation or in any situation when you're surrounded by negative things happening, it's really easy to get dragged into that negativity. So that's why the gratefulness challenge is really awesome, because it brings you back to a positive light. And that's one of the major things around gratitude, is that it can really change your mindset and how you respond day in, day out. So changing from being a cynical person to being a more positive person simply by being grateful. And it's kind of crazy. Like, it's really, really simple. It'll take you a minute to do each day. And I think that's why I love it so much. So if you wanted to jump on that challenge, it's evergreen, which means it's always going to be starting day in, day out. You can start it whenever. And we've still got people who signed up. Like, I had people sign up this morning. I had people sign up yesterday. I had people sign up on the 1st of January. And what it is 30 days. Like, I'm not going to market to you. I literally just want you to go through the gratitude practice and see the benefits of what gratitude can give. So head across to thechieflife.com. You can jump in just on our little drop down link on the side. You will have to put in your email address, because there is an email that comes out every day just to prompt you to put in your gratefulness practice. So to put in the 3 things that you're grateful for, but also it gives you a little prompt as to say, like, hey, maybe you're grateful for this today, like something just to trigger your mind around the thinking of what you might be grateful for if you're having issues. So head across and jump in on that if you want to change around your mindset and get the benefits of being grateful. There is also a lot of like health benefits that come from being in a more positive state. Like, if your body is healthy and happy, it can be healthier, which is kind of crazy to think. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. That's a good little wrap on it. Today, I wanted to dive into a little bit more about testosterone, and more so how you can naturally increase your testosterone levels. So it's important to know that women, this is actually very crucial for you guys too. So females do have small amounts of testosterone. It's not the same amounts that men have, like definitely not. It's the main sex hormone for men. For women, you guys still produce it in your ovaries, and you will produce it in your adrenal glands as well. So just small amounts of it. But obviously, it's more important for men, in particular, like during puberty. This is when boys start to, like they say, when your testes drop, when you get your voice, when you start to increase your muscle mass. We start to eat a lot of all the mums and dads' food. When you start to get some hair growth, maybe some hairs pop up on the chest, or even your pubic regions, your underarms, on your chin, like you might start finding that the hair starts to grow. But realistically, it is really important for adulthood as well. So even older age, and the issue is that it does reduce over time, and people just think because it's reducing over time that we should go and use something like a testosterone replacement product. The issue with this is that once you start on a test replacement product, you're typically on that for life, which is not great. Like, if it's pretty much making your body lazy, like, hey, move over body, we're going to just give you this so you don't have to work for it anymore. It's kind of like turns off the production rate of it. So not fully, but it tones it down a lot. So it means that your body's always going to be reliant on this out of body supplement or stimulant to make sure that it's getting enough test in. So if you have started test replacement already, that's not an issue. You can still increase your amounts, but you probably will need to be on that supplement for a long time. It's important to know that the older we get, it doesn't mean that we should, that your testosterone should be out. Like, you should never run out of testosterone. And if you run out, like, things like, I think going into, like, maybe how I break this down. Let's go firstly, things that can maybe make you low on testosterone is lifestyle, stress, work, like things that create too much stress in your life, such as work or family or friends or like situations that you get stressed out in, is like an acute level of stress that can create issues on your testosterone. In a long-term effect, that's when you start to see, hey, consistently low levels of testosterone. If you have a look at products, so food products or something like drugs and alcohol, for instance, I think a good example to say is like, hey, guys, if you've ever taken a lady home or your lady home and that night you weren't able to get it up, that's a fair sign to say that the alcohol or whatever you consume that night is not responding favorably to your testosterone, because things like erectile dysfunction is part of the issue when it comes to it. In adults, healthy levels are important for general health, disease risk, body composition, sexual function, and just about everything else, which is kind of crazy. Like, it literally does have a fair function on men as to everything that we do. But if you think about your body composition, this is kind of part and part. Like, the more body fat you have, the less testosterone you're going to have. The less body fat you have, the more testosterone you're going to have. So realistically, it's like part and part. If you are currently obese and you drop that body fat, your testosterone will naturally increase, which is kind of crazy to think about. Sexual function, and this is a big thing. Like I said, erectile dysfunction is a sign that, hey, testosterone is low. There's something that you're doing in your lifestyle that's not really favorable for increasing your test or for keeping healthy levels of test. But doing things like being more sexually active is something that is going to help to increase your testosterone as well, because it's creating that drive. And that's the same that's where it kind of comes in to play for women. So it's an important role for female health, but also for sexual well-being for women. So keeping up regular sex or regular masturbation, like, this is something that is actually really valuable for increasing or keeping at least or maintaining, I should say, a good healthy level of testosterone. The research is pretty conclusive, but both genders should ensure that they have healthy levels of testosterone, especially as they age, meaning, so as you age, you really need to be looking into it probably a little bit more. Once again, if you're not functioning well as an individual, it's a good way to say, hey, okay, let's have a look at your lifestyle, but potentially what's happening is on a hormonal level, your body is not dealing with the things that you're doing. So we need to look at that hormonal level and say, okay, what is up? What are the things that are out of whack? And how can we change that? And it's really crazy when you go to the doctor and you get a test for your testosterone. They will give you, you do blood work, and they'll come back and say, hey, you're in the normal. The issue is that the normal, and I don't have exact numbers, but the normal goes from, say, 50 to 9,000, and anywhere between 50 and 9,000 counts as normal, which is ridiculous, right? Like, that's a lot of difference. Realistically, we want to be on the higher end. We once got told, and I don't know how real this is or not, but a lot of the tests or a lot of the normals are taken from the average of the general population who are coming through and getting blood tests done. So you think about people who go and get blood tests done, it's very rare that the healthiest individuals are going and getting bloods done. So it's typically individuals who are going to get these bloods done, and they've collected all of their data and said, hey, this is the normal based across these individuals that we've taken the data from. So I would say that you should aim to be on the higher end of normal if you are basing it off of those scores. Testosterone is the most important sex hormone in a male body. It is natural for testosterone levels to decline as a person ages, but there are steps that they can take to slow and perhaps reserve the process, and that's definitely something that we're going to dive into. Probably give like 8 to 9 tips around how to best increase your testosterone. Testosterone is vital to a person's overall health and well-being. Low levels of testosterone can affect body composition unfavorably. So if you're increasing your body fat consistently, apart from nutrition, there is a few things that you should look into. So things like sleep, things like stress, and these are all things that we're going to touch on. But the more body fat you have, the less testosterone you are going to have. And as people age, reduce testosterone levels can cause weight gain. So it's kind of crazy, right? Like is it the chicken or the egg, right? Like the weight, like I said, gaining weight is going to decrease your testosterone, and then vice versa. So realistically, it comes down to lifestyle and nutritional habits can have such a massive effect. Low levels of testosterone also affect sexual function, as we've talked about, but causing reduced sex drive. So if you're never horny, you never wake up feeling horny, you never have any ambitions of sexual drive at all, that's a fair sign to say, hey, there might be something up with your testosterone levels, which is kind of crazy. But fewer erections and infertility. So the big thing is that if you have ambitions to have kids at one point in your life and you're not looking after your health, then there's a fair chance that if you are going down the route of being incredibly stressed, not sleeping that well, or being not being active, and you're becoming overweight, like realistically what can happen is infertility, which is kind of crazy. Like you can literally take away that opportunity to be a dad one day. And something that Stace and I did a lot of before we even tried to have Mads was we got blood work done to check out mainly where Stace was sitting with her bloods and everything, to make sure that everything was good for her to be able to produce a baby. But also we made sure that we pretty much went on like a full detox to make sure that we were ready for kids, in regards to we were as healthy as we could be, because what you are consuming as an adult when you conceive a kid can be enough to change to change the kid's makeup for the rest of their lives, which is kind of crazy, right? So let's dive into, I think we've kind of talked pretty much, like realistically it comes down to lifestyle is going to be the thing that creates issues within your testosterone levels. Going for the easy fix is going to actually create something that you need to be on for the rest of your life. So the easy fix being test replacement. If you go down this route, you are going to have test replacement for the rest of your life, which is kind of crazy. So what we're going to do is go through a few different things as to how you can increase your testosterone levels just naturally, things that you can do in your everyday life to make sure that you're increasing that bad boy up. So it starts off, like I said, a lot of this comes down to lifestyle. The things that you're consuming, the things that you are doing day in, day out are going to have a massive play as to how your body starts producing testosterone. So the first one is exercising or lifting weights. Ideally, the more muscle mass we can have, well, this is another chicken or the egg situation. The more testosterone we have, the more lean muscle mass you're going to be able to gain, because it helps to boost your lean muscle mass. However, within saying that, we need to make sure that we are lifting weights of some sort, because that's going to be able to do both of these things. So increasing muscle mass comes from doing some form of weight training. Ideally, hypertrophy training is great for increasing muscle mass. So we're talking about 12 to 15 reps, maybe 5 sets of this on each exercise that you're doing. Choose maybe 5 or 6 exercises and hit that hard. when I'm talking about hard, I mean actually at the end of the 15, you should be kind of huffing and puffing because that weight was heavy enough that by the time you got to, let's say you're doing 12 reps, by the time you got to rep 9, you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can finish this. And you really had to fight for reps 10, 11, and 12. That's a really good way to start to boost your muscle tone, and in turn will help to boost your testosterone. There has been a lot of research. There's this, I'm just going to read a little topic. So new research in obese men suggests that increased physical activity was even more beneficial than a weight loss diet or increasing testosterone levels. For increasing testosterone levels. So what they're saying there is like, yes, nutrition is going to be important, but the thing that actually changed men's levels straight up was getting out and doing some form of exercise. In regards to CrossFit, high intensity interval training, or any of those other like F45s, things like that create a high heart rate straight up, these can also be very effective, although all types of exercise should work to some extent. Like no matter what you are doing, you should get some benefits from, like you will get production of testosterone from doing exercise. So this is just a little extra excerpt from this little piece that we've had put together. So taking caffeine and creatine monohydrate as supplements may further boost your levels when combined with a training program. So saying having a regular creatine dosage, so 5 grams of creatine a day, like a teaspoon of creatine a day. This is almost something that everyone should be doing anyway. Just having creatine is really good for you. You do not have to cycle on or off of creatine. That has been flawed, as they used to think. But taking caffeine, this is an interesting one because it can also create more stress. So it's like, is it going to do good or not? And I would just say, hey, tread with caution. Like if you are in low amounts of testosterone, you probably shouldn't be having high amounts of caffeine because it's going to create more cortisol release in the body, which is a stress hormone. If we have more stress in the body's not going to be able to create as much testosterone as it should be. Eating protein, carbs, and fats. This is major. So, I mean, making sure we're getting all of your macronutrients in, because what that does is it creates, pretty much hormonally, we are omnivores, right? Like we're made to eat proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and making sure that you're getting good qualities of these foods is going to help to increase your hormonal level or your hormone function. So when we're looking at foods, whole foods, as well as like ideally the quality of food, once again going into, say for instance, like your free-range animals or grass-fed animals, it might be looking into your vegetables being organic or as close to organic as possible, or if they're not, making sure that you're trying to keep away from the foods, the 12 foods from EWG.org's, like they've got a list of 12 that they say, hey, these are the ones that you should try to keep away from because they typically have the highest amounts of like herbicides and pesticides. EWG.org. I'm going to quickly search it up. Give me 2 seconds. Go away pop-ups. It will come up in just a sec. There's so many freaking things on this website. Maybe now's not the best time to do this. But there is things like leaves, berries, even apples. Like if you're to eat an apple, the best way to do it is to cut around the stem. So making sure you're getting that little pocket where all the chemicals can kind of sit into. I think a big thing to do is if you've got these foods is to actually just rinse them really well. Like ideally soak them in water. That will help with just removing those extra chemicals from the food. 12 foods list to avoid. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to give one more attempt at this. If it doesn't pop up really easily, then I'm going to bail on it. All right, Dirty Dozen, here we go. Strawberries, spinach, kale, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries. I'm just going to skip to the thing so I can see the last few. Pears, tomatoes, celeries, and potatoes, which is kind of crazy, right? Like that's probably a lot of people's diets or intakes. So I mean, if you think about that, so many people say, well, hold up, that's all the food they eat. I think the bigger thing to look at is, hey, what can we swap it for? So strawberries might be going for bananas or something instead, bananas or other berries instead. Spinach might be going for another form of lettuce rather than using the spinach leaves, or if you're going to use spinach leaves, once again, just wash them down. Same with your kale. Kale, just swap for another form of lettuce. Nectarines, once again, swapping for like a different berry outside of strawberries, or a plum or a peach. Sorry, peaches are on the list, so not a peach. But just swapping for these different things. Apples, grapes, peaches, cherries. I think all of these fit into that fruit category. So if, for instance, you want some fruit, maybe go for a banana, maybe go for some lychees, maybe go for something that you need to peel, like a mango first, before you eat it, because all what that means is that the skin is going to have these amounts on it instead. Tomatoes, celeries, potatoes, I mean, you could just choose other options. So for instance, cauliflowers, broccoli, and sweet potato, or using rice instead of potatoes, because it's going to have less of an effect on your digestional tract anyway, and how your body responds to it. So there definitely is easy ways to kind of move around that and work around that as much as possible. When it comes to protein sources, there's plenty of science to show that meat is like the superior version of protein. Eating good quality meats is going to be the best variation of protein that you can get, because it's going to give you true amounts of leucine, true amounts of B12, and these are the things that vegans eventually have a lot of issues with, even when they're supplementing, because the synthetic variation of this product is not necessarily breakable or usable by our bodies. Like, they can't just use it the same way as if they were to eat meat. And this might go against everyone's ethics if they were a vegan, or definitely does. If you're a vegan or a vegetarian, the best thing I think you could do is give yourself, like, once a week, have 90 grams of beef liver. Which sounds absolutely bizarre and probably as far away from being vegan as you can be, but what that does is it helps to boost up so many different nutrients in your body, the nutrients that you'd be lacking, like your Bs, like your leucines, like your, not choline necessarily, that comes a lot from eggs, but your not riboflavin, I can't think of it right now, it's on the tip of my tongue, but we talked about it with Chris Masterjohn, so go back to that episode if you wanted to hear a little bit more on that. Carbs, looking for real foods. Once again, so if you're having things like breads, pastas, processed foods in general, these are not going to be great for increasing your testosterone. Like, the more real food we can have, the better. So using rice as a big carbohydrate is fine. That's a good option. And ideally using like a basmati rice, that's going to be great. Using your fruits and vegetables to get your carb intake up is going to also help out a lot. Fats, we want to be using good quality fats. Like, ideally we're keeping away from all of your bad fats, things like your seed oils, your vegetable oils, things like margarine and stuff like that. Like, do not use those. They are completely ridiculously bad for our body. We want to be using foods like, say for instance, coconut. So using coconut flesh, coconut cream, coconut milk, they're all good options. Using olives, using nuts and seeds in their I guess normal state is going to be the best way to have these foods and get those fats and protein, the fats in. Perfect. I think that's a pretty good wrap up on that. So next one is minimizing stress and cortisol levels. So this is where I talked about with the caffeine before, which is quite funny because I'm drinking a coffee right now. So I think so many people think because we say to detox from caffeine that we are full coffee haters, and realistically we're not at all. We just say, hey, there's two types of metabolizers, which is a fast or a slow metabolizer. Figuring out whether you're a fast or a slow metabolizer is going to help you out a lot, because it gives you insight as to whether you should continue to have caffeine in high amounts or not, or just in amounts or not. Because realistically, if you're a slow metabolizer, it's going to keep you anxious, it's going to keep you jittery, it's going to stuff up your sleep or affect your sleep greatly. So that is why we do recommend removing caffeine for a few days, 28 to 30 days before reintroducing it. So cortisol is a stress response hormone, which means that when we get stressed, we release cortisol. The research is always highlighting the dangers of long-term stress, so that's across the board for your health, which can elevate levels of your hormone cortisol. So unnatural elevations in cortisol can quickly reduce testosterone. These hormones work in a seesaw-like manner. As one group goes up, the other comes down. So when we put that into context, the more cortisol you have in your body, the less testosterone you're going to have in the body. So if you're stressing about financial things, about work deadlines, about the family holiday that's coming up, about what the workout is at the gym, about when you're going to feed next, like if you're stressing on all of these things, you're going to be more likely to have less testosterone in your body. Stress and high cortisol can can also increase food intake, weight gain, and storage of harmful body fat around your organs. In turn, these changes may negatively impact your testosterone levels. For both optimal health and hormone levels, you should try to reduce repetitive stressful situations in your life. Focus on a diet based on whole foods, regular exercise, good sleep, laughter, and a balanced lifestyle. So making sure that you feel like you're getting your rest and digest in, as well as the hard work. I mean, hard work does pay off. Working hard and being stressed is not necessarily the worst thing you can do. It's on acute levels. Doing it day in, day out to the point where you suffocate yourself, like that is the point where it's like too much. All of which can reduce stress and improve your health and testosterone levels. Getting some vitamin D every day or taking a vitamin D supplement, this is massive for what happens with your testosterone levels. Getting outside in the sun for 10 minutes a day is all it takes for increasing your testosterone levels in men for up to 20%. And with women, actually on progesterone, it can increase you by up to 50%, which is absolutely insane. And so, I mean, there's all different companies coming out with these different light products now. I interviewed a guy, Scotty, a few weeks ago, and he is a part of a company called Juve, and they do a lot of these researches, like a lot of the research around what light and full spectrum light, what red light, like near infrared lights, are doing, and what the effect is on the body. But the biggest thing is that getting more sunlight is going to massively affect how you feel. So energy wise, how your testosterone production is. So I would say, hey, if you're not already getting out in the sun with no sunnies on and with ideally like short sleeves and shorts on, then make that a daily preference, like a daily priority. Getting outside and doing that is going to help. Taking vitamins, minerals, or supplements, so making sure that we have a balance of these micronutrients in our body is going to also help to deliver all of the things that we need in our body to make sure that everything comes out the way it's meant to. So multivitamins are strongly debated as to how well they work. So I would actually say going after the supplements by themselves is going to be your best variation. So one study showed that zinc and vitamin B supplement increased sperm quality by 74%. Zinc also boosts testosterone in athletes and those who were deficient in zinc, obviously. But I mean, increasing your testosterone as an athlete, as a male athlete, what that does is it makes sure that you are performing best. Like it gives you the ability, it's like the alpha male, right? It gives you the ability to do more as an athlete. Other studies also suggest that vitamins A, C, and E can play a role in your sex hormone and testosterone levels. Although more research is needed around this, but I think it's pretty easy to say, like, if they've seen benefit, why the heck not try it? Vitamin C, I would, ascorbic acid, if you can get your hands on that, like a powder form, you might pay $15 for a packet that will last you months on end. Having a teaspoon of that a day, it's going to be bitter as hell, but drinking that down, you will feel like 100%. It's just going to help kick any sort of cold or any sort of sickness that you have in your body. That is a really good little tip. Out of all the vitamins and minerals available, the research on testosterone shows that vitamin D and zinc supplements are the best ones to have. So if you're not getting out in the sun, making sure that you've got a vitamin D supplement, and then also getting some zinc. So I love to have zinc, magnesium, B6. I typically will take either the tablets or I'll get the powder form from True Protein, which you guys can get with a 10% discount I think. Might be 15, but True Chief. So capital TRUE and small letters Chief, CHIEF, all as one word, and that will give you, it might even give you a 20% discount. I can't quite remember, but you definitely get a discount on that. There's no kickback or anything like that for us. It's literally just the fact that we enjoy their supplements and we know that they're a good company here in Australia. Getting plenty of quality, restful sleep is massive. Making sure that we are getting a decent amount of sleep day in, day out is going to be massive on your testosterone levels. So there's been a lot of studies done, and sleeping for 5 hours per night was linked to just a 15% reduction in testosterone levels. On one study, a long-term study that they did, those who were sleeping for 4 hours a night, borderline deficient levels. So it was typical that they were like either deficient or just about deficient. So if you're not sleeping enough, your body doesn't have the chance to recover. It doesn't have the chance to get rid of the stress. It doesn't have a chance to then produce more testosterone. So me last night, I actually slept like crap because of the heat. And so it's about figuring out your situation in your life and making sure that whatever's going on, that you are getting good quality sleep. So working out, and probably the best place to go to is our YouTube channel. I literally did like a sleep series recently on how to better your sleep. So I gave sleep hacks, I gave sleep like routine stuff, so things you should do before sleep, and then also we took it, I can't even remember what the third one was, but it was very, very crucial. I think someone's just rocked up my door, I'm sorry. No, they have not. Great. So sleep routine, sleep hacks, and there was one more which is eluded me right now, but that 3-part series is really good and it's had a lot of response. So I would strongly recommend checking that out. So getting better quality sleep is going to be the thing that helps you to restore and maintain a healthy level of testosterone. Natural testosterone boosters. I think the best one that I've come across is ashwagandha, but I mean, also looking at your different supplements we were just talking about before, boosting your micronutrients is always going to help with this. Ashwagandha is massive, and they keep saying that there's not enough study on it, but there's so many study pieces on ashwagandha. It's quite a crazy piece, and this is another one that I've done a video on our YouTube channel, so you can head across to that. Just type The Chief Life into YouTube and you'll find us. There's plenty of recipe videos, there's plenty of just new content that we're starting to put out through there. So one of the studies tested the effects of this herb on infertile men and found a 17% increase in their testosterone levels and a 167% increase on their sperm count, which is kind of crazy, right? Like, it might be the thing that can almost reverse this infertility, or that can help men out at least with boosting their testosterone, definitely. In healthy men, ashwagandha increased levels by 15%. Another study found it lowered cortisol by around 25%. So, I mean, if you're a highly strung person, if you're not feeling that you've got much sex drive, getting something like this, ashwagandha in, can really help you out and benefit your sex drive a lot, but also just help you to reduce your stress or your cortisol level in the body, like as to what's happening there. Ginger extract may also boost your levels. It is a delicious herb. I like ginger a lot. It can help out. It's really good for, in particular, if you're sick, if you get a cold or anything like that, pumping some ginger in a tea. I think that's probably my favorite way to have it, is like ginger chopped up finely in a cup with some water poured over it, like hot water poured over it. Drink it down, and then if you're game, crunch on the ginger at the end, because then you'll actually get all of the benefits from it. The other thing, I should mention that a lot of the studies on ginger has been done on animals. However, one study in infertile humans found that ginger can boost testosterone by up to 17% and increase levels of other key sex hormones. Other herbs that are supported by some studies, but in both animals and humans, include horny goatweed, which is something you may have heard of, and then a few more, but they're not as well known, and they're very hard to pronounce. I am going to try it. Mucuna is one, Mucuna pruriens, and then we've got Shilajit and Tongkat Ali. So these are probably, I would say, ones from either China or from India that have some effect, but not as much of an effect as what you would find from having probably your ginger root or your ashwagandha. Following a healthy lifestyle and reducing the amounts of estrogen that we're getting in. So this is kind of crazy. Like estrogen-like compounds and we talked to Dr. Anthony J about this on a podcast. I think it was around the 160 mark, and it dives into what plastics do to us as humans, how it's affecting us. And well, I don't think 20, 30 years ago or whatever, when we started creating all these plastics, that we ever thought it was going to be an issue. It would be way longer than that. In 20 or 30 years, that's ridiculous. It'd be way before that. But when we started creating all these plastics, we didn't think it was going to be an issue. And then they found out, hey, if you've got BPA in your products, it's going to be leaching out and it's going to create an issue in your body. So what these companies went and did is they changed it by like one molecular structure, changed it to products that are now BPF or BPS. And this is what happens when you've got a BPA-free product as a plastic that's a water bottle or that's a container for your food. And this BPF or BPS is pretty much just as bad. It just leaches straight into your body, once again, causing an estrogen effect. So it makes you have higher amounts of estrogen within the body. Now, ladies, you have estrogen naturally. Having too much estrogen is not a great thing. Men, when we have too much estrogen, that starts to create like the man boobs, and it's pretty much there's a saying of the womanization of men, which is what estrogen is doing to us. So having high amounts of plastics or high exposures to plastics, the crazy thing is that there's so many other chemicals that we might not have heard of, and it's quite interesting. A lot of the companies are starting to get onto it, like your soap companies, your cleaning companies. They all have estrogen-like compounds in their products that create issues. So parabens is a massive one, that it's like a chemical that can leach into your body and create more production of estrogen. So companies like these soap companies, they're starting to now advertise paraben-free, because they came onto the fact that we can't keep doing this to people because it's not going to make them healthy or well. Which is kind of I think is very, very interesting, and something that we have done in our household is go glass for all of our containers. We've got pretty much like a chemical-free house in regards to our cleaning products are all like naturally. I've got some stuff right behind me, so I'm going to grab some. And no, I don't think I actually can reach it with all my setup. I can't. So pretty much like we've got a lot of essential oil style sprays, and we mix it with waters and with different natural occurring chemicals to help with cleaning. Our soaps are the same. I don't know what the base is, but I definitely don't feel dirty when I'm using these soaps. Like, they still do the exact same job. I think a few other things to mention. I think if you want to look more into the plastic side of things, go back and find that podcast with Anthony J, Dr. Anthony J. It is really, really insightful, and he's got a book written on it, Estrogeneration. And if you're really interested in it, I would go and read that book. It is absolutely incredible, some of the studies that he has found, and how he kind of breaks them down is absolutely incredible, and it makes it really easy to digest, and he kind of puts into stories. So he'll tell a story about himself and how that relates to the situation and what's going on, and maybe how I guess it just explains it a little bit more in layman's terms, which is awesome. So we touched on it before, but decreasing the amount of alcohol and drug use that you have, whether it's recreational or medicinal. Like if, for instance, you are on, let's say, anti-inflammatories for a joint issue or something that's going on, having that within the body is going to be enough to change your levels, your hormonal levels, and can actually affect the way that you're producing your testosterone, which is kind of crazy. So reducing any form of medication as much as you can. Obviously, if you're on something for like high blood pressure or whatever, you do need to keep it in without until you consult your doctor about it at least. But reducing medication is going to be awesome. Reducing any form of drug in general, so alcohol or drug use, if you're a recreational drug user, this is not going to be very favorable for you and your sexual production of hormones. In contrast, and we talked about this before, but laughter and happiness is massive. Making sure that you are in good situations, you've got good connection. These are things that are really, really going to help you out, and making sure that your body is healthy and happy is going to be a major one. So I don't know if you remember, but about 40 minutes ago, I talked about our gratitude practice, and jumping in and doing something like that. That is massive for how you will feel on a day-to-day basis. That can just kind of set you up for success, or it's a good way to reflect on the day and put you to sleep happy, which I think is really valuable. So that kind of gives a little bit of a wrap on testosterone and boosting it naturally, like the causes of what would give you low testosterone, and then the ways that we can actually increase it naturally. And realistically, of those things, some of them are going to be time related, like making sure you're getting out in the sun, making sure you're getting to the gym, making sure you're creating good food eating habits. Outside of that, some of them might come at a little bit of an extra cost. So obviously, paying for the food, paying for the gym, paying for those supplements is going to be something that might need to, like, obviously it digs into your pocket. But realistically, I would say, like, these things are all things that we can do at a cheaper cost. Or realistically, even if you pay for them right now, you're going to save yourself a lot of issues. Like, imagine if you had to go on testosterone replacement for the rest of your life. I don't know how much those pills are worth, but let's say it's $20 for a month, and now you have to do that for the rest of your life. That's a lot of money just pumped out straight away. 20 by 12, we're looking at $240 a year. We times that by, I don't know, let's say 50. I don't have my calculator in front of me, and I can pop it up in a second. Let's say, what do we say, 240? Let's say by 25 even. Like, if you're getting it in an older age, it's going to be $6,000 on testosterone replacement pills, which is kind of crazy, right? Like, when we start to add these things up in a long stage, when all it could take is like a little bit of grit and some concentration onto how you should be eating, you can really change your lifestyle around, which is super insane. So within saying that, I mean, we are a company that help individuals with nutrition. So if nutrition is something that you need to focus on, then we are very happy to help you out. We have a few different forms of how we can help you, like the intermittent fasting challenge that I talked about at the start of this podcast. That is coming up on the 3rd of February, and we run them every few months. So if that's something that you're interested in, fasting is definitely something that can help or that has improved testosterone levels. But if that is something you're interested in, or if you wanted just to have, like, that's kind of it's a hard-ish program in regards to you have to do a fair bit of working out as to this is what macronutrients are, this is how we fit our numbers into your macros, and kind of progressing from there. Something like, if you just wanted it done for you, our personalized meal plans are perfect for that, because it's literally like, this is the amounts of food you should be eating, this is how you cook the food, now just go and do that and consume the food. And it tells you every meal and snack you should have within a day to achieve the goals that you are asking us to achieve. When it comes to, we do also just have a personalized macro consult. So that's having a one-on-one with a nutrition coach. It goes through and figures out the macronutrients based on your body type and based on your goals right now. And I mean, realistically, we can kind of really tailor this. Like, hey, I want to do more keto, or hey, I want to go high carb. We can play around with your numbers and make sure that you're getting this in. And what we do with that macro console is give you some recipes to trial out. We also give you a lot of content in regards to, like, hey, this is the foods that are most favorable. Like, we've got this red light chart, which is, this is the foods that are most favorable. These are the ones that are, like, every once in a while foods, and these are the foods that we try to avoid as much as possible. Yes, if they sneak in, that's fine. You're not a bad person. It doesn't make you bad for eating those food, but let's try not to have them daily or even weekly. So that's a lot of content that kind of comes out to help you in regards to flexible dieting. But we talk a lot more about just the macros, because the issue with doing macro counting is that people start to swap apples for donuts, and then they wonder why they start to feel sick or not feel quite as good. And hey, I love donuts. I fucking love donuts, but I'm not eating them every week, or I'm not eating them every day. And that comes down to obviously a little bit of willpower, but also the fact that I've got the education around, I know what that's going to do if I'm doing it regularly. So make sure I'm setting myself up for success. Lastly, we do have our nutrition coaching, which is open again. We've got our team are ready to rumble with nutrition coaching, including myself. So, I mean, you can request a coach. You can also just request to be with a certain sex, so a female or a male. And with that, we'll partner you up with a coach. You can have your weekly check-in calls or emails. And ideally, or with this, it's pretty much the joining of both of those programs. So you get your personalized meal plan. You also get your macro consult, a down track eventually once you've kind of got your head around the meal plan. And you get a check-in call week by week to help help support you with whatever's going on in your life. Like, hey, I've got this event coming up this weekend. How do I deal with the food there? Or, hey, I'm doing a competition this weekend. What should my macros or what should I be doing with my food to make sure that I've got enough energy for the 3 events on Saturday, the 3 events on Sunday? Because usually I only train once a day. What is the difference? And that's all stuff that we can help you out with. It's also looking into your lifestyle factors. So things like caffeine, things like stress, making sure that you are going to be covered or reduce your stress as best possible where possible, even if it's just from taking on a few different things like some breath work or some form of like time relaxation or something. These are all things that we talk through with you to help you out, to help better yourself in the long run, or help you get closer to your goals through doing consistent food programming. So for instance, you're eating good quality foods for a consistent amount of time, you will definitely find that your hormone balance comes back to a better state, which in turn means you are going to not only increase your testosterone, but you will also just be able to function better as an individual. So many people get to a stage where they're so hormonally stuffed up that it takes a lot of undoing, and sometimes it can be that you need to consistently do something for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months before you might see a major shift, which is kind of crazy, but consistency is really the key to getting success when it comes to body composition, I think, is probably the best way to put it. But realistically, it comes across to human performance as well. So, team, that's been about 45 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed it. I love that you guys have been reaching out to me. If you're not following us, jump across to Instagram at thechieflife.com. I put my heart into that. Like, there is so much good content on there, and I'm only making more and more. Like, realistically, like I said at the start of this podcast, I am aiming to get as much free and good content out as I can this year. And I think if you're not following that stuff for little tips and little bits of success, or things that will set you up for success, then definitely jump across, because it's going to be useful. But yeah, if you did enjoy it, reach out to me. I love hearing from you guys. I love knowing that you're enjoying these podcasts, that it is useful for you. If there's topics that you would love covered, then I would love to hear from you as well, because once again, this is why we do it. We like to help people. Like, seeing that we can make such a change in an individual's life is absolutely awesome. That's what gets me up daily and makes me do the things that I do. Like, knowing that we've got a huge membership base on our Facebook page, but also, also just a following on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. Like, all of that side of things, knowing that people are reaching out saying, hey, I really like this tip, or hey, I really like the article, or hey, I enjoyed this podcast, or hey, the videos you're doing have been cool. Like, that stuff is what really, I guess, pushes us to do more of that stuff. And if we know what you guys are chasing, what information you're chasing, then we can be more direct to you as an individual. And all it takes is for you to send us a quick message and say, hey, I love your testosterone podcast. How about you do one on progesterone? Or, hey, I love your testosterone podcast. How about you do one on fertility? Like, those different suggestions is what's going to drive us in that direction. So that is it from me, team. I hope you have enjoyed it, and